Has there been a shift in the last 10 years?
10 years ago, nobody even thought of having a conference like this. There's a 2% disability rate in India. I think it's an abysmally small number. It's probably 2.5 times that statistics. It's all invisible. And especially if it's a girl child with disability, it's even worse.
What are the challenges that a corporate faces?
If you find like a really good person sitting in the government seat is not so much of a challenge. The problem is finding good organizations who are willing to go beyond programmatic efforts and really looking to see what are the big issues of the sector. A lot of non-profits, they don't talk to each other.
Yeah.
They don't share knowledge, they don't share best practices.
Welcome to The Seat at the Table, a podcast series where we talk about neurodiversity, invisible disabilities. We talk about inclusion, awareness, and acceptance in a hope of a better world. I'm joined today with Ms. Zia Lalkaka. She's the CEO of H.T. Parekh Foundation, which has been doing some phenomenal work over the years. First of all, my gratitude and thank you so much for doing the wonderful work you do and to support organizations, enable organizations, empower people who are trying to make a difference. So thank you so much for that, Zia.
Thank you, Mugdha, for having me here today. It's a pleasure.
Zia, this journey has been over a decade. You have perhaps very intimately seen the world of neurodiversity, even if there wasn't a direct connection, perhaps. But as somebody who has empowered so many organizations with your support and with your insight, has there been a shift in the last 10 years? Have you seen a significant shift, or unfortunately, we are where we are, or we have actually moved?
So that's a tough one, Mugdha.
Mhm.
So if I had to really think of answering this, uh, firstly, I think we should, and I'm talking about the India perspective.
Right.
I'm not talking about anything,
Fair.
from a global perspective. But when we look at India, there is and when we talk about disability and inclusion, it's very different when we're talking about metro and large cities.
Right.
It's very different when you're talking about smaller towns and rural India.
Absolutely.
Right? This whole statistics which says that there's a 2% uh, 2% of disability rate in India. It's completely. I think it's an abysmally small number.
Right.
It's probably twice or 2.5 times that statistics, because whilst a lot of conversations uh, and change has been happening maybe in the larger metro cities, we still have it. Rural India, it's all invisible, right? And especially if it's a girl child with disability, it's even worse.
Absolutely.
So to say that there's been a change, to be very honest, I think a lot of things on the developmental side have probably changed in the last 10 years since the CSR law came, because so
Right.
much more of corporate philanthropic money has come into the system. And we also have some very evolved individual philanthropists today. But unfortunately, it's going into the very core sectors, and maybe even rightly so, of like education, health, livelihood. This is a sector which needs far more support. You need many, many more organizations like a
Right.
Jai Vakil and an Ummeed in smaller towns, in smaller cities, who are going to work on this cause, who have the ability to train other partners in such, in the small in I would not even say rural India, I would say
Right.
smaller towns and cities, so that you're actually able to make some kind of a marked difference. If I talk about a Bombay, a Bangalore, a Delhi, a Chennai, yes, in terms of special schools, in terms of the quality of conversations, a conference like this, right? 10 years ago, nobody even thought of having a conference like this. I would say maybe even a Jai Vakil may not even have been ready 10 years ago
Right.
to have a conference of this scale and size, or anybody else. Today, yes, conversations are coming to the table. There's a lot more awareness. Personally, I myself say I knew hardly anything about this space, and I'm far more enlightened today. But it's still, there's a long way to go for the sector, and even talked about it at the conference that,
Right.
the big shifts at the ecosystem level, you really need people to come out and firstly fund the sector more.
Right.
You need to have more conversations, more training, and I feel the whole at even in like at the school level, in regular schools, just as we're teaching kids today about climate and environment, sensitizing children across the board on topics like this when they are young. I think those initiatives don't cost much. They don't take they take time, but they don't take so much of like funding, and those are the kind of like big shifts that have to happen in Indian society. So I think there's still it's way better,
Right.
but I think there's still a long way to go.
I think one of the major challenges is that everybody seems to be working in silos.
Yes.
And of course, as we say, the privileged are having it better
Yes.
compared to the ones that are living very far away from schools or intervention centers, or where the policies are actually being seen getting implemented, versus they are on paper and nothing is happening. So I
Yeah.
think that that is one of the challenges. But having said that, do you see a shift in people's perception of neurodiversity, or that also you feel still remains divided?
I think I would say the same thing. Maybe in certain niche pockets, okay, in certain urbanized locations, yes, the because people understand it more, the acceptance, the empathy, how to deal with the situation, is happening. But I would say it's very much still targeted at certain urban locations. I'm just like thinking with 70% of our country living in rural
Correct.
areas,
Yeah.
and actually there are some districts in specific states which are known to have high rates of
Right.
children and adults with disability, but they're all these hidden invisibles. There's no knowledge and understanding there itself.
Right.
And then there's poverty, right?
Yeah.
And then there is still a society which is patriarchal. So I mean, those issues, as I say, disability in rural areas is like a whole different ball game.
Correct.
And I think, I mean, there's a huge change and shift needed to happen there. In urban locations, people are talking about it, but I don't think people still understand
Right.
it very well.
Let me shift gears and speak to you in the capacity of a CEO of a very big foundation that funds so many programs. It, I'm sure, is very gratifying to see results, to see something grow in front of you that you have empowered. But what are the challenges that a corporate faces when they have to look at working with the government, working with the stakeholders, bringing them all together? How challenging is that process as well?
So I think for a corporate of the size of what HDFC was, so working with the government, if you find like a really good person sitting in the government seat is not so much of a challenge. The problem is, I think, just finding good organizations.
Got it.
Of the right size and scale, who are willing to go beyond the regular programmatic efforts, and really looking to see what are the big issues of the sector.
Right.
Who are willing to share their knowledge. A lot of knowledge in this sector is just held back. A lot of non-profits in the disability space they may be like 1 kilometer away from each other in the same city. They don't talk to each other.
Yeah.
So they don't share knowledge. They don't share best practices. When you ask them to do something different or try something different, the first question will be, but what about funding?
Yeah.
I don't have resources. And I do understand those are challenges. See, in the education and healthcare, I would say even in livelihood, skilling, there are some really large pan-India organizations, both social enterprises as well as in the non-profit space.
Right.
In disability, It's not there. It's very
Right.
local. It's very city specific or district specific in terms of their area of operations. And so, how do we get like 4 or 5 of the biggest of the size that there's
Yeah.
today to really work together collaboratively,
Hmm.
and then to train others in smaller cities, other cities and towns, like share their models and knowledge.
True.
I think those are the challenges we face.
Hmm.
So when we are asked at board levels and committee levels, is there scalability in the
Yeah.
model?
Yeah.
Is there sustainability in the model? These organizations are always going to need grant and donation funding. There's no sustainability parameters.
Hmm.
It becomes very difficult to support that.
Right.
Right. But for us at the foundation, I think, we looked at this very differently. For me personally, I feel the biggest gap is that a lot of people with disability um, are not being trained and skilled in the right sphere to be able to become somewhat financially independent. Yes, there are many that cannot, but I think there's a whole huge section where livelihoods are possible in some form
Definitely.
or the other. And I think, that is a big gap still. We worked with about 4 or 5 organizations which look at skilling people with disability in different forms. There are different unique ways to look at it. Now, those are sustainable models.
Right.
And so that is something which really drove us through the time, that why do you say that, a child or an adult with disability cannot become a contributor to the
Right.
family and cannot become a positive contributor to the economy? There is a spectrum of severe disability where, yes, that may not be possible, but there are a lot,
Absolutely.
especially with physical disabilities, who just are waiting for the opportunity to work.
Yeah.
And so I think one of the big highs for us in our 10-year journey have been the ability to find 4 or 5 of such great organizations which have actually put these people to work.
And have had a rippling effect.
Yes.
In terms
Yes,
of
yes.
what they have achieved.
And created the kind of financial independence for a whole host of people. There's still a lot more to be done there. And these are certain models which can even work in rural areas. So they're not just urban livelihood models. There are also models which, you can help people in rural areas to work and just with dignity and grace and, become financially independent.
Before I let you go, in the last 10 years on this journey of inclusion, how has it changed you, perhaps?
How has it changed
Yeah.
me?
How do you, because as somebody who has been touched by invisible disability and neurodiversity, I feel that today I'm a completely different person than what I was, and I always love to see that change in people, in the way they perceived the world. What has been that journey for you in the last 10 years?
It's hugely gratifying and satisfying. But I think it has also personally helped me to really balance head and heart decisions well. When you're
Interesting.
working in this space, sometimes you tend to make a lot of decisions from the heart,
Yes.
but you also need to put on like the thinking cap, right? You
Right.
also need to think logically. You also need to think where sometimes it's not an entire emotional connect. So I think it's really helped me overall, as a leader in a foundation, to really be able to balance my head and heart decisions. And it's just, I mean, I don't know, I get a lot of joy around, like, when I go to a Jai Vakil or an Ummeed or any of our other partner organizations, I just get a lot of joy around being with these kids. Sometimes they do like fascinating things which just amazes you. And I think that kind of sums up the whole gratifying emotion.
Zia, what a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
talking to us, and thank you for all the wonderful work that you do.
Thank you, Mugdha. Thank you. And God bless and more power to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.